What do you mean God went into left field? Shooting me glass from the passenger seat. Come on, baby, we got all dressed up. Dance with me.
This is a video for Theories of Asian Architecture, explaining adaptive reuse strategies for traditional architecture in a site that we selected, the issues we faced, our findings throughout this project, and our proposed potential solutions. Lorong Pangong. This is Group 7 under Dr. Camelia, and these are my group mates. But today, me, Muhammad Farid, and Elisa Chanlicia will be presenting.
A short introduction about the site in question. Lorong Pangong is located in the heart of Kuala Lumpur next to several other historically valuable streets constructed in 1911. Once a vibrant alleyway where families lived in shophouses and businesses filled the ground level streets, abandoned with time only to be rejuvenated recently, transformed into a vibrant attraction for tourists and locals alike.
Upon visiting Lorong Pangong, we have found that it is not without its issues and challenges. Here are some of the issues found. We have found that there are graffitis plastered on the walls of the streets. With this not being part of the heritage or restoration program, this affects the facade of the street. There are also trash scattered around the streets and alleyways, which reflects the lack of involvement of authorities and government policies regarding the heritage sites.
We have conducted a series of research methods to acquire our findings on Lorong Pangong. The methods include physically visiting the site to get a feel of the location and recognizing the genius loci and its cultural identity. To follow, we then reviewed several literature about Lorong Pangong and came up with an analysis of our own, which is followed by an in-depth investigation. These were the necessary steps we got through to then come up with conceptual framework to finalize our title.
After visiting Lorong Pangong, we tried recognizing the issues at the surface level of the streets. We dived in deeper by looking at it from another perspective. We then split the issues into two parts: authority and organization involvement, and its unclear instructions on how to properly navigate the manual of adaptive reuse of traditional architecture for Lorong Pangong. We then identified 4 issues and challenges. In the next few slides, we will dive deeper into the issues and explain how to potentially solve these issues.
After thorough investigation of our site, we came up with few research questions along with potential solutions. First and foremost, a topic on heritage conservation. The question reads, how can adaptive reuse strategies in Lorong Pangong balance heritage conservation with the need for urban development and modernization? We found out the rise of modern architecture had led traditional shophouses to lose its characteristics, to be modernized and gentrified. Besides that, the demand for corporate and commercial spaces also contributes to this negative aspect. The few potential solutions our team suggests is for corporates to carry out comprehensive conservation plans when reusing the spaces. Great community support from not only the locals but tourists can also do so. Lastly, choosing the right principle when dealing with historical shophouses.
Next, we touched on the topic about building integration. The second research question reads, what are the key challenges when adapting traditional architecture in Lorong Pangong to meet modern functional and safety requirements? We found out that the key challenges included inexperience of parties, the greater cost of materials, and more importantly, the availability of such materials nowadays. Even so, the authenticity of some traditional architecture are quite difficult to be preserved by their newly refurbished counterparts. Thus, some potential solutions that we came up Other traditions should be brought upon by integrating building practices and education on these traditional building methods. As builders or consultants, one must be experienced enough to conduct such heritage projects.
Moving on to the third research question, which we investigated about building preservation, the question reads, what are the social and cultural impacts of adaptive reuse in Lorong Panggung in terms of community identity and risk of gentrification? We found out that these adaptive reuses affects the longevity of traditional trades negatively, with the occasional displacement of businesses and even residents, resulting in the great loss of traditional authenticity and cultural identity of Long Pangong. Hence, some suggestions raised includes making a more community-involved planning as they are the new and coming users of adaptive architecture, as well as having minimum intervention to preserve the heritage of these buildings.
Last but not least, this research question categorizes in sustainable implementation. The question reads, what sustainable building practices from traditional architecture can be integrated into modern buildings, and does it affect the gentrification of Lorong Pangong? The excessive usage of mechanical methods alongside the use of non-sustainable materials for modern structure in Lorong Pangong has greatly affected its gentrification. Therefore, we came up with a potential solution, such as the modern constructions should include a comprehensive integration plan so as to reduce mechanical use. Practices about proper adaptive reuse of traditional building with the help of community participation and education must be done for an effective solution to avoid further gentrifications.
To conclude, Lorong Pangong is a street constructed in 1911 featuring a combination of traditional and colonial Chinese architecture, which has been transformed into an appealing tourist attractions with cozy cafes and boutiques. After exploring the issues about adaptive reuse strategies in Lorong Pangong, such as the loss of its unique characteristics, failure in heritage conservation, and more, we came up with solutions for the respective problems, including community support, education on building methods, and avoidance of interventions for change.